Alright y'all, we're back again today, and we're going to be looking at the Arcane Archer for patch 8, the stress test for Baldur's Gate 3. We're going to be looking at the Arcane Archer and what it can multiclass with, while Arcane Archer is the dominant subclass when it comes to that multiclass. So if you don't understand what that means, you'll see once we start getting into the video. And so we're going to start off with Arcane Archer. We're going to go through each of the classes, see how well they pair or like synergize with Arcane Archer, and put them in like a tier list to see how well they work and maybe if they don't work. And then at the end, I'm going to have a gameplay section with, I think, a maximum of 4 multi-class options that are my favorite, and you're going to see a little bit of a gameplay section with it. Now, because we have 12 classes and all the other respective subclasses, we're kind of going to need to go a little bit quick, or else this video is going to be an hour long. And because there's so many classes and subclasses, I'm probably not going to get every detail right. So that's where you guys come in with the comment section to let me know if I missed something I would say crucial. So with the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and head in game, and we'll go through our Arcane Archer, then we'll start talking about those different options. And real quick, one last time, this is for the stress test. It's kind of like a beta. So everything you see here, again, not a finished product. It might change on the live version. When that live version is coming out, I have no idea. So let's jump in game. Now, here we are in game. Like I said, we're going with fighter first in our fighting style because Arcane Archer is mostly a range-based fighter. We're going to pick archery as our fighting style. Our ability score, we're going to have our spread like this. We're going to focus on dexterity and intelligence. And everything else, I'm just kind of keeping at like a weird, just not in the negative, except for strength. Strength we absolutely don't care about. But when it comes to wisdom, charisma, there are some subclasses that will utilize those stats, so I just don't want them to be in the negative. And if I look and sound like shit, that's because I'm a little bit under the weather, but we're gonna power through. So let's go ahead and start the leveling process, and we're gonna stop around level 6 or 7 because Arcane Archer is going to be our base. It's gonna be the dominant class when it comes to multi-classing. So let's go ahead and just finish off the leveling process really quick. So at level 2 here, we just get Action Surge. This is fantastic. This makes Fighter itself just a really good option to multi-class into. Level 3 here, subclass, we're picking Arcane Archer. Cantrip wise, just go with Guidance or Light maybe. True Strike is not great. Arcane shots here, I really do like Vanishing Arrow. I like Bursting Arrow, and I like Seeking Arrow. We're going to pick up another arrow, and that'll probably be Grasping Arrow here, but we only get to choose 3 at first, so we're going to continue on. And every one of these subclasses, or these classes that I'm going to show off in the different variations, they're all going to have basically similar layout as far as their ability points. And then for their feats, all of them are going to have Sharpshooter because, again, we're an archery class, or we use a bow, I mean. And so we're all going to benefit from Sharpshooter. Now, not all of the arcane shots will actually work with Sharpshooter, but I just still feel like this is just like a must pick for this subclass in general. So let's go ahead and move on to level 5. We're going to pick up our extra attack. Fantastic. And then level 6 here, I think this is where we'll stop, and we're just going to bump up our intelligence because we took the archery fighting style. We already get a +2 to our range attack, so hitting is not going to be as bad. We'll lose out on a little bit of damage, but we really want our conditions or our status effects to land, and intelligence is going to help with that. In my initial Arcane Archer build guide for the patch, I did not build this character correctly because I was in a battle master state of mind. This is more like a Eldritch Knight where you benefit from intelligence. So this is where we're going to stop, and now we're going to swap over and we're going to look at our different options. And I am going to go to the wiki for this because going through each of the classes and subclasses in game would just be a huge pain in the butt with loading reloading every save. It would be a pain. So hopefully you guys can bear with me and you understand that aspect. So let's go ahead and switch screens. So the first option we will talk about is Barbarian. What does the Barbarian have that'll synergize with Arcane Archer? Well, not a whole lot, and that's because Rage doesn't work when you're wearing armor. Wearing armor, not necessary for an Arcane Archer, but I do think it's you want to, essentially. And when it comes to Barbarians, they're more of a melee focus or throwing weapons, so doesn't really synergize with anything I think Arcane Archer has to offer. Now, I will note that Giant, that new subclass, they do get Boot of the Giants, and you get this bonus action to basically kick somebody. So that would be something to do with our bonus action, but that would take 5 levels just to get that not great option for just to boot somebody. So unfortunately for Barbarian, I just don't think it has a lot of synergy. Now, does Elemental Cleaver work with your ranged weapon? I don't think so. I will double check that right now. It actually does. Well, that is something. Hot diggity dog. I thought that I did not expect that to actually work. I thought it was going to work like Pact of the Blade, because if you don't know, Warlock, Pact of the Blade, even Hexblade, I guess we'll get to that later, or I guess we'll do it now. Pact of the Blade does not work with ranged weapons as far as using your charisma modifier. So I didn't think it'd work with Elemental Cleaver, but it does. You can see it right there. So that is something to consider. And it also works with Seeking Arrow, which cannot miss. Huh. Maybe I judged you a little too harshly, Barbarian Arcane Archer. I don't know what the hell to call you. But yeah, you can see it right in the log right there. Make sure my big head's not in the way. So yeah, Elemental Cleaver works for Arcane Archer. Now, does this move the needle as far as where it's going to place? I don't know. Now I think you can make a case for it, because Elemental Cleaver, a little bit more damage, and then you also get the boot. And then you also double in size. It's just, okay, so as far as this fantasy goes, this seems just a little counterproductive, because, you know, you're just, what, Raging Archer? I mean, okay, you know what? All right, I see it. All right, let's head to the tier list, or the list, I should say, and we'll place this sucker. All right, so at the list here, okay, Barbarian, you surprised me. I would put this in, this can work. There's synergy, and it doesn't have, I would say, the subclasses don't step on each other's toes, I guess is the best way to put it. Because as an Arcane Archer, it's not really necessary to wear heavy armor, or really armor in general. The only thing is you gotta rage first, but that seems fine. So I would put this in can work. Man, that's a really surprising way to start this video. All right, hopefully we go a little bit quicker than this, because it's already getting a little lengthy. All right, and next up is Bard. Let's take a look at Bard. I can already tell you guys now, this synergizes beautifully. One would say even perfect. That's because of, let's go on down to their subclass. They're missing Glamour over here. It's okay, Glamour's not great. College of Swords, we got the Flourishes here. These are just made for range, basically classes in general, for you, especially if you're using a bow. In the gameplay section, I will be showing off 2 hand crossbows. You actually don't want to stop this at level 3 as far as multi-class, and you want to go at least to 5, and that's for Font of Inspiration, so that way your bardic inspirations come back on short rest, on top of the fact that bards let your party do an additional short rest. So overall, that's 12 charges you're going to be able to use between long rest, and if some of you may have forgotten, your Arcane Archer, those arrows, those also come back on short rest. So there is a shit ton of synergy here. So Bard here, gonna go ahead and just throw you up and synergize this. Now, left to right on this list will matter as well. So just know that Bard is probably gonna sit at the tippity top. All right, let's see what's next. All right, next up we have Cleric. Let's take a look at what Cleric can do. Well, we all know what Cleric can do. A lot of the Cleric subclasses, they all get a really good benefit usually at level 2 when they pick up their first divinity charge. So something like Light gets Radiance of Dawn, Preserve Life for Life, and then Destructive Wrath for Tempest, and then Guided Strike for War. I'm not really worried about Nature or Knowledge or Trickery, those kind of suck. And then Death Domain's not here, but Death Domain has one that triggers with melee attacks. So really, I think the one that is the go-to here would be War, and that's because of the War Priest charges you get as a Cleric. And the only rub about these is the fact that they come back on long rest. So investing just 1 level into War Cleric will give you these War Priests. It'll give you 3 of them. So you can use your bonus action to do another attack, but only 3 times between long rest. Now, taking another level into Cleric, use your Divinity Charge for +10 to your attack roll. It's almost basically going to guarantee that you're going to hit. It's just going deep into War Cleric here. Maybe not the best. I think when it comes to pairing the Arcane Archer and War Cleric, it actually would be best to go 11 Arcane Archer. That way you get all your charges, all that stuff. But also at level 11, you pick up improved extra attack. And then just take 1 level in War Cleric here, and you'll get 4 attacks, 3 times, essentially. And we're not talking about Action Surge, which will give you even more attacks. Yeah, Cleric here, we'll put this in the synergizes, but this will probably be like borderline, can work, synergizes. It's just not flashy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, let's continue on. Next up, we have my good old friend Druid, and I'm really just looking at you, Circle of Stars, and we all know why. Circle of Stars will give us basically an additional bonus action that doesn't cost any resources our resources to maintain or any like spell slots. And we'll get an extra basically archery shot with Luminous Arrow here. Now, admittedly, Luminous Arrow doesn't do a lot of damage, but it is something to do with your bonus action. But you also have Chalice, you have Dragon. We're not really focusing on concentrating too much unless we take another subclass as well. I really want to try to stick to basically matching up 6 or 3 subclasses at once and ensuring that we get 2 feats. That's kind of like the lane I try to stay in when it comes to multiclassing, or else we're just going to get like this Frankenstein John Baldur's Gate run going here. It's not a bad thing, it's just not what I usually like to do. I like to stay very focused with my builds and make sure everybody has their role that they're playing. But just 2 levels into Druid, pick Star or Circle the Stars, and you get a pretty great benefit. The only other rub about this is you're going to have to invest a little bit into Wisdom, which you should be doing anyways, just because a lot of enemies in Baldur's Gate 3, they will check your Wisdom as far as saving throws go. So not the worst. Now Druid, I'm mostly looking at you, Circle of Stars. Where do I want to put you? Are you above Cleric? I think so, because Circle of Stars, you can continually do those bonus actions for that extra attack. Not a lot of damage with that Luminous Arrow, but it's archery, kind of fits with the theme still. I think this works. I like this. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it above Cleric because again, with the War Priest, you only get those 3 charges. They're really nice, they synergize well, but yeah, they're definitely going to be low on the totem pole. So let's move to the next class. So next up we have Monk. Now, does Monk really synergize at all when it comes to being like a range fighter? I would say they have some benefits. They also get the Martial, the unarmored attack as your bonus action. So if you just want to use your let's just say longbow in this instance, and then you're just unarmed, you will get a bonus action to attack. So that's kind of similar to what I was talking about with Giants or Barbarian, but here in Monk you get it at level 1. And obviously, yes, you get a Flurry of Blows as well, so not a bad option. You also get some unarmored movement, not wearing armor, so that's kind of like not the biggest fan of that. Patient Defense, this is okay as well. No, I don't see it with Monk. I could be wrong, but just going off of my experience with Monk and obviously just looking through this really quickly, not seeing it. So let's go back to the list real quick. Now for Monk, I'm gonna put meh, maybe like what are you doing matching these two. This one's definitely a bit dramatic and not as bad as I have it here, but yeah, I just don't see Monk really synergizing at all with Arcane Archer. Maybe it gives you a little bit more defensive and survivability options with like a reaction, the armor. No, I'm gonna keep it in basically the very bottom. I could be swayed in the comments though, so let me know if I'm fucking this one up. All right, and then next up is Paladin. Man, I do love me some Paladin, but really I don't think any of these Paladin subclasses will synergize with Arcane Archer. Now you can use your bonus action to do something like Inquisitor's Might, Healing Radiance, something like that. So that's an option, and it's using its own resource that then comes back on short rest. And if you go 3 levels into Paladin, you do get something like Vow of Enmity as well, which will give you advantage for 10 turns if you cast it on yourself. That bug still works as by the way. And again, it comes back on short rest, so it's not horrible. I can see it working. It's just this would not be my top pick. So with Paladin, I think I'll just stick it in meh, because 3 levels into Vow of Enmity, that's pretty good actually. That's a lot more synergy, or I guess a lot more useful than anything I would say Monk has. I don't know, these 2 categories, these 2 are kind of the same to me, by the way. One's just dramatic, the other one's not so much. Let's keep moving on. Next up, we have Ranger. Ranger, I think, synergizes really well with Arcane Archer. Obviously, they can use Dexterity as their main stat modifier for their martial weapons, in this case, bow and arrows or just something ranged. And at level 2 there, they pick up a different fighting style. So we already picked up Archery. You can now take 2 weapon fighting and hold 2 hand crossbows. That's a really nice synergy. Gloomstalker is probably the standout here because of the Dread Ambush and then Superior Dark Vision, and then you also get additional initiative with Gloomstalker. Hunters, not bad. Colossus Slayer and Hordebreaker are pretty good in general, but I just think Gloomstalker has more to offer. And then Swarmkeeper, I think, is also very good, like on the level of Gloomstalker as well, because you get a lot of different options every single turn with your arrows. Your arrows or your arcane shots that do weapon damage will proc this Praise Scent, or I mean these Gathered Storms, these Legion of Bees, the Cloud of Jellyfish. They will proc the swarms like effects, so you can add more damage. There's a lot of synergy there with Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark does not get in the way of what Arcane Archers are doing. In fact, it'll make it even better. So I think this is an easy one. Not really, we don't really need to say too much. I think this synergizes really well. Maybe not as much as Bard, but it is a very early dip. You'd only want to go like 3 levels into Ranger just to pick up that subclass and those benefits. But that's a lot of value into multiclassing. It's just having to do 3 levels instead of having to invest this 6. It's just, man, investing 6 just for College of Swords, and then getting those flourishes and making sure your inspirations come back on short rest. Anyways, let's move on. We're talking about Ranger, not Bard. Well, that's not true. Now we're talking about Rogue. Rogue also synergizes really well with Arcane Archer. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Assassin here, really good. Let's take a look at Assassin real quick, just for a reminder for everybody. So we're really just looking at Assassin's Alacrity, Ambush, and Initiative. So when we start a fight, we get our action and our bonus action. They're both refreshed at the start of combat. That's really helpful. So there's a nice opener. And then any successful attack roll against surprise target, that's a critical hit. So that'll only work with the arcane shots that we have that are basically weapon attacks. And then there is Initiative here, which in combat you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. Very handy. Assassin here is synergizes very well. Doing basically 3 Assassin, 3 Ranger, super strong. When you pair that with 6 levels into Arcane Archer, that is going to be one of my favorite kind of multi-class options. But let's go back real quick, and we'll look at Swashbuckler here, and we'll look at the Rakish Sneak Attack. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't synergize very well with range attacks. Swashbuckler is meant to be in melee range. Now, you do have something like Vicious Mockery, and this states that you will get Dirty Advantage when you use this skill, and you'll gain advantage on your next attack. It does not work with range attacks. I will show you guys that in the gameplay section, but just know Swashbuckler, very much melee focused. It's just when it comes to your rakish sneak attacks, I'll show you guys this in game about how it just doesn't work like you would think, and it's definitely, again, more tailored towards melee. But that's okay. I think Rogue in general is fantastic. So just go ahead and move you up there. Now, where does this place? I think basically Ranger and Rogue, they're kind of tied. I do give the edge a little bit to Ranger because I think Swarmkeeper is really good, guys. I hate the class fantasy, but what it brings to the table, I cannot deny. I like it a lot, actually. It's just I wish it had a different like aesthetic. Anyways, but I do give the edge to Ranger as far as these two, but they're very close. Let's move on. What is next? All right, and next up is Sorcerer. I don't think Sorcerer really synergizes with this subclass or with Arcane Archer very well, just because charisma base, very magical, maybe using Quickened to do like additional damage. And when it comes to the new subclass, Shadow Magic, you got to go 6 levels to really get that class going. And then it's very magic based still, as far as just being a spellcaster. I just don't think, because you get your Hound at 6. No, I don't think you would want to go Shadow Magic. Now you do actually get Eyes of the Dark and the Darkness, which will let you see through magical darkness, kind of like that same synergy as Warlocks. And they actually get it at the same time. Level 3 is when you can do it as a Warlock, and level 3 is when you can do it as a Sorcerer. I just like the synergy with it better with Warlock, and you'll see why in the gameplay section. Other than that, Storm Sorcery, you do get some benefits with like mobility, but you gotta cast a spell. Just no, I think this is kind of just meh overall. I think that's where I'm gonna put it. Sorcerer is either meh or like can work. I'm gonna keep it in meh. Maybe if they use like the same spell modifier, I could be that would be better at least, but no, I think Sorcerer is just not a strong multi-class. I mean, Sorcerer in general, multi-classing into it is always, you can always find some benefit out of it as far as just your quickens, and oh man, that makes me just want to put it in can work. That's okay. Just because Sorcerers are so goddamn good, I'll put it in can work, not so much meh. All right, and then moving on to Warlock here. Warlock, I think, actually does a pretty good job. So basically with Warlock here, all these subclasses, I think, do a pretty bang-up job as far as, you know, Dark One's Blessing. These all trigger when you basically hit targets or kill them. So there's a lot of synergy there. It doesn't get in the way of Arcane Archer and what they're doing. Now, how far you want to dip into Warlock, I think 3 is the sweet spot. and it's mainly because of darkness. And then with your Eldritch Invocation here, you want to pick Devil's Sight. Kind of I don't want to say boring, but I would say every class would benefit from darkness and Devil's Sight, and then basically just setting up a bubble basically of darkness to sit in and just do whatever you want in there. You're basically safe. And I'll also show off the fact that, yeah, Pact of the Blade, I think everybody knows that from the live version of Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, it does not work with ranged weapons, and neither does the Hexblade, their bind weapon skill. Does not work with ranged weapons. Like, the animation and everything will go off, but as far as adding like your charisma modifier or using your charisma modifier, it doesn't work. And then it also will not do Hexblade's curse, because when you bind your hex weapon, when you do damage, there's a chance you'll inflict Hexblade's curse. It will not work with a ranged weapon, or at least I've done it enough where nothing is ever procced. So maybe I've just been really unlucky, but we'll show it off in the gameplay section, because even without all this Hexblade stuff, you still get what we were talking about earlier with darkness and Devil's Sight. So I think 3 levels, that's a good choice here. And your spells here, they come back on short rest. So you're going to be able to do this a lot. And then you also have some good options as far as Hex, basically pretty similar to Hunter's Mark. And then you get a ranged, basically reaction counter with Hellish Rebuke. So that's really good too. So yeah, just some solid things here. We're going to go ahead and put this, I think, in the synergizes section. Yeah, definitely synergizes. It's just where does it go in synergy? I think it goes somewhere around here-ish. Maybe a little bit better than Circle of the Stars, but Circle of the Stars, it just gives you bonus actions all the time. This just gives you nice protection and some options as far as reactions and then you also have Hex. I don't know. This and Druid are kind of, I think these two you could swap, just like you could swap Ranger and Rogue. And then we don't really even need to look at Wizard, because they both share the same spell modifier. So I think automatically Wizards will basically synergize with Arcane Archer. It's just, do you want to invest in Wizard to then cast some spells? Now I know what some of you are thinking, because Wizard has a lot of subclasses and they synergize with certain spell types. And the Arcane Archer, their arrows have basically spell descriptions as far as like, this is an enchantment arrow, etc. And you would think that would synergize with the subclasses with Wizard. It doesn't. And I think that just comes down to the fact that these arcane arrows don't cost a spell slot. I don't know how it works in D&D as far as the tabletop, but as far as Baldur's Gate 3, I think you need to spend that spell slot to get that synergy with the Wizard subclasses. And we'll just quickly address Bladesinger. Bladesinger is more like a melee focus. It's not with a bow, so that obviously probably off the table. And then the last one here is just Fighter. We're already playing Fighter, so we don't need to move that. So let's go ahead and move to the gameplay section, where I kind of have cherry picked these top ones here, and then kind of can show off what they can do. I don't want to come back to this screen, so I'll just crown the top pick. I do think it's Bard, and you'll see why. It's just so much value in Bard here. So yeah, let's jump in game. All right, now in game, let's just take a look at everybody's equipment. Equipment is not important. None of this is very good. +1 longbows. This one just has a regular longbow, and then some level +1 hand crossbows. Armor wise, this is just very basic stuff. We're going to be completely fine in the fight. We're not, again, we're just showing off the classes in basically their raw form. But let's go through each one of them individually real quick. We already saw this guy here. He's going to be our 7 Fighter, Arcane Archer, and then Wizard. And then our next one is going to be that Ranger, and then I threw Druid in there. I actually think this would probably been better as 6 Fighter, and then 3 Ranger, 3 Rogue. So don't take the actual breakdowns of these levels like too seriously. I just want to show off basically the options that you have. So when you get down to like the nuances about like what you're picking, that's entirely up to you guys as far as like build craft. But that's the variant she'll be here. And then we have our Warlock variant, because I want to show off that darkness combo. And I took 2 Cleric as well. I think, yeah, just for the war charges, and then the divinity charge as well. And then this guy here is our Bard Multiclass option here. You see we got 4 Bardic Inspiration, we got 5 Arcane Arrows, and these 2 are gonna come back on on short rest. So that's gonna be really good. Our spell slot wise, I actually didn't use too much with Bard, but just know that you're basically like, look at his Bard. Look at my Bard bar here. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Very clean, but I'm not using any of these spell slots. So just know you can fill in some spell slots here. I just kind of took them off just to kind of just drive home the point that you don't even need to use the spell slots here, because we're gonna be having a good time with just this kit right here. And then moving back to the Warlock variant here, I'll show you the fact that, yeah, you can bind Hexblade, bind Druid Weapon there. It actually does the animation for the melee weapon, even though we are using our bow here. Do it again. So yeah, it's just for the melee option, unfortunately. Now we can use Hexblade's Curse, and that'll work. It's just the benefit from here, we're not picking up with our ranged weapon. And I know some of you probably already knew that's how that worked, but just in case anybody wants to ask, yeah. And then for our Ranger variant here, we got already our Luminous Arrow up. As far as utility wise, a lot of them, everybody's usually picking up Enhanced Sleep or Long Strider. So this is a good multi-class, just in option general, just like to make sure you have that available. And then we're also going to be utilizing Hunter's Mark. I'm already concentrating on Hunter's Mark, strangely enough. I don't know why. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into the fight, and we'll kind of go through basically what everybody's going to be able to do. Now for this Wizard variant, I think one of the strengths is basically being able to prep. So we're going to do Mirror Image. And why not? We're going to cast Haste on ourselves. We're good to go. So luckily, this is going to be a very target-rich environment. Everybody's going to get basically their time to shine. So starting off, we have our Bard here. Let's see. Obviously, the best one to do is Slashing Flourish. This basically lets you target 2 enemies. It can be the same target twice, but it only costs a Bardic Inspiration, and it's essentially 2 attacks. Okay, so this also synergizes pretty well. This is going to cost our bonus action, but it's going to curve our arrow, basically attack somebody else because we're going to miss one. I think it attacked the chair. It sure did. I didn't know it could target basically objects as well. So that's neat to know. But you can see there is some synergy with that. So that's nice. We're just going to use Grasping Arrow. So you kind of get the choice between which one of these you want to work with. And then we can just use Action Surge and then just keep doing damage. Move a little bit and let's just see if we can secure this kill. He's always missing that one. Dang. All right, well, so pretty decent there. And we're already out of our Bardic Inspirations, but that's okay. They're going to come back on long rest. All right, now it's our Warlock here. Now we're going to use Darkness. Ooh, it's a big Darkness. We like that. We're going to put him somewhere. We need to put him somewhere safe that he's not going to basically affect the rest of the party. We can just safely now move inside. And so we can do Hex, or actually we can't do Hex as a concentration. So actually those two don't work really well together. But if you want to use Hex like a Hunter's Mark and not use Darkness, that is an option. But we're going to use Hexblade's Curse, and we'll just target the giant rat there. And then we will use Action Surge. Basically use an arrow now. We'll just do a regular shot, so that way you guys can see that the Hexblade Curse there, it is actually proccing with just using your ranged weapon. It's just you can see in the combat log there that the dexterity modifier is being used instead of charisma. So that is pretty good. And then Hexblade's Curse, it does come back on short rest, so you can just 3 times. Not bad. But this character just is safe in their nice little bubble here. I want to see if I can get any closer to get Piercing Shot to hit them. No, just out of range. Let's go ahead and take out the rat. And since the rat is in our bubble, we had advantage on it. So just like the stealth archer here, stealth magic archer, essentially. And then we have our wizard variant here. So we've already done our prep skill, so we're pretty tanky, and then we also have haste on ourselves. So that's a nice benefit. We'll just use Seeking Arrow to ensure that we hit. Who do we want to hit? Let's go ahead and target them. Not the most damage, but now they have Fairy Fire on them. Actually, let's show off Bursting Arrow. You see here, Bursting Arrow. So we're Evocation, and Evocation means when you use like an area effect, like a fireball or something, you won't target your allies. Well, you can see there that we will hit our allies. Now maybe it's a visual bug, and we're not going to hit our allies. Sure. Lock of the Far. Okay, we missed. Let's go ahead and curve the arrow. No, it still hit him as well. So just know, as far as your wizard subclass, it is not synergizing with your arcane arrows here, despite using evocation magic with this arrow. A little bit of a disappointment there. Maybe they'll fix it for the live version, or maybe they won't. Either way, not a deal breaker. And we can use Action Surge, and we might as well just keep rocking and rolling. Let's go ahead and banish them. See you later. Very strong, and we're already out of arrows, so that kind of sucks. Now this is our ranger variant. We're gonna get them out of trouble, and we will just have them. Actually, this is not a great mix here, this the druid and the ranger, because we want to use our hunter's mark. Well, that's going to be our bonus action, so we're not going to be able to use our luminous arrow here. And you can see our luminous arrow, not that great, only 3 to 10 damage, but it is an option. So really you do want to prioritize doing hunter's mark first, and then maybe use something like grasping arrow. Let's just make sure we take out these 2 behind us. And so since we did a weapon attack, and our weapon attack basically killed them. There's no option to do like add more of your Legion of Bees. You can only do the teleport option. So now we get a free teleport to basically anywhere we want. I mean, it's not very large, but I'll just move that. So our Bard here in a little bit of a pickle, but we're gonna use Seeking Arrow. It's gonna automatically hit. And hopefully then just get our bonus action, which we didn't. That's great. We can just go hide in the darkness here. That's not going to be, let's just leave them out there. They'll be fine. Savage Hell, back to the Warlock variant here. So the Warlock variant, we got some actions. So we can't recast Hex Curse, but the whole point of this subclass and this multi-class here is to basically ensure that we can just survive in this bubble. And we're going to get 3 strikes because of our war charge. And because we're in our darkness here, yep, we have advantage. We don't even need to use one of our arrows. And let's just start evening the playing field. Our Bard is probably going to take a little bit of damage, but that's okay. See, we got some options here. Let's go ahead and use Guided Strike, ensure that we get that hit. Just throw another arrow at him. So I know probably another question would have been, okay, do these war charges, do they also proc your arcane arrows? The answer is yes. And then back to our mage variant here. A little more on the magic side as far as using up spell slots. We're doing a pretty good job at that. We already burned through all of our arcane arrows, so that's unfortunate. But we can just do what, you know, normal longbows do and just take out everybody. So beautiful. We have haste on, so that is just an intrinsic perk here. Haste is very strong. Should have had that guy kill himself, but we didn't. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. And then we can use Misty Step to gain some distance, move anywhere we want. Not going to, because I'm going to save the spell slots. And then we have the Ranger variant here. Let's see. Let's show off Luminous Arrow real quick. Let's see if we can find a target that has low enough health. This is only 50%. If I actually had equipment that matched like this encounter in Act 3, this would be going a lot better. So don't be looking at this and being like, man, Arcane Archer sucks. No. It's just because I'm not geared out. I'm just showing you what the base kit can do. And obviously some classes don't need equipment to be really good. Okay, so we parked that. We proc Legion of Bees again. Let's not do that. And then let's just get a regular arrow off on a target that I'm not gonna kill. Let's do that real quick. See, now we get the option here, and this would do more damage if I had Hunter's Mark on him, but I don't. Immune to piercing damage. I should have looked at that, but I didn't. Now we get to use our Luminous Arrow. And we just do a little phew. We missed. If you ever wondered what it would be like to have a party of arcane archers and how well they would perform, well, look no further than this video. And I have shot this guy with a lot of bursting arrows, and now he only has 1 health. How are we going to get him out of this pickle? Well, it's very simple. We're going to kill him. A little bit of damage, get both of them done. I'm still in my little bubble here, just hanging out, having a good time. Kind of wish I would have picked up a Banishing Arrow with this, just to get this guy out of the way. Just use Seeking Arrow instead. Got Fairy Fire, beautiful. All right, and then we'll use actually our Wizard. I keep wanting to say Mage, but it's our Wizard variant. Has advantage, thank you, Fairy Fire. And because we have Sharpshooter, man, we do a nice chunk of damage. Love Sharpshooter. So they're dead. Yay, now our Bard is safe. Let's go ahead and what do we want to do to finish him off? We've kind of shown off everything. Could banish again. Yeah, let's just use Grasping Arrow. Should have used Bursting Arrow actually to take them both out, but I didn't because I'm not playing optimal. Okay, and then anybody can just sneeze on them and they're gonna die. Beautiful. And before we end the video, let me show you the Rogue variant. Like I said, I would show off Swashbuckler and like what's going on with that. Let me just show you what I mean about basically Rogue here, and more specifically Swashbuckler. So we got our consequences. We're gonna start a little bit of a fight. Now we can't use Flick of the Wrist. Let me organize this bar real quick. How dare you have a dirty bar on our hands here, Mr. Nomad. Don't you know we love looking at your clean bar? I know, gang. I know. We don't need the melee rakish attack. We want to show off the arrow here. And so we do have some options here as far as how to gain dirty advantage. We have Sand Toss, so Pocket Sand, beautiful. And we have Vicious Mockery as well, which will also give us advantage on our next attack. That's all it says, by the way. And I think that's my biggest issue with Swashbuckler. I keep repeating it, but I just want everybody to know, insult a creature, it has disadvantage on its next attack roll, gain advantage on your next attack. We'll see how well that really works. Let's use Vicious Mockery, or do we need Pocket Sand? We'll go with Pocket Sand. So we got Pocket Sand off. We're gonna run away. Over here, we have Dirty Advantage. For 2 turns, gain advantage on your next attack. Well, don't have advantage there. That sucks. And then for our Rakish Sneak attack here, we get extra damage when we basically attack a foe that we have advantage against. Well, guess what? that's not working as intended. So that really bites. So hopefully now you can see like, okay, going Swashbuckler, not the worst thing when as far as multi-classing with Arcane Archer. I think Assassin synergizes better, but having these dirty tricks here, not a bad option either. I'm a fan of. I just want this to work so badly because I think Swashbuckler has so much potential, But yeah, I just want to show that even with that dirty advantage, it doesn't actually give us advantage with our bow. So maybe not as much synergy as one would think, but still very solid option. But that is the video, guys. This was my first one testing out like kind of the multi-class potential for these new subclasses. Let me know the next one you guys want to see. Obviously, as my first one, I'm just very much experimental. I'm just kind of throwing this at the wall and seeing what sticks. So the formula may change a little bit in the next video and just keep kind of iterating and getting better. Until then, guys, peace and take care.